And that's when Austin, the security guard, the father, and 2 other guys came into their room.
Can you turn off from it?
So I just...
People watch because of the children.
Right now between you and Bryce Hall, man. What's this all about?
I was like, nah, I already feel like this shit might be kind of tricky.
Colette moved out about a year ago.
Was there any type of blackmail involved in this situation?
Once the children become adults, the party's over. Although I suppose the children could then start their own channels and just continue the cycle forever, which is a pretty frightening thought.
My hair looks fucked up. I'm not feeling like this.
Yeah, because that all comes to do.
I'm tired of trying to carry everybody. Oh my goodness, let me finish.
Before we get into the video, this is actually part 2 of a 3-part series about toxic family vlogging channels. I just posted part 1 about the Ace family. I'll leave that in the description box below if you want to watch it. And in a few days, I will be uploading ShayTards. Today we're talking about 8 Passengers, literally my favorite channel that I used to watch when I was younger. Fun fact, I went through a phase where all I watched was family vlogging channels. And I have to sit with that for the rest of my life. So the family consists of Ruby and Kevin, who are the mother and father, their 4 daughters and 2 sons. Ruby grew up in Utah with her 4 siblings, so even her herself had a pretty big family growing up. And then as for Kevin, I believe he was an only child. They don't even really talk too much about Kevin's side of the family, like even on camera, they don't really talk about it too much. How these 2 lovebirds met is that in high school, Ruby was actually engaged to someone in the army at just 18 years old in her senior year. And then when she graduated high school, she found out that he was cheating on her. So she obviously broke up with him and then went to college and was, she was a bachelorette, looking around, scoping the area. And then that's when she found Kevin.
And I just flirted with everybody and I didn't care whose heart I broke. One night I was holding hands with Kevin under a blanket on one side. And there was another boy on the other side and I was holding his hand too.
Yeah, and it became super...
When we got married, I was 18. I had just finished Cradle Robber.
Ruby and Kevin met when Ruby was 18 and Kevin was 21. He was, I believe, like a junior in college. When they met, just a few months after, they ended up getting married.
It does not.
Ready to go on your honeymoon now?
We'll just leave it right here.
Hey, what's up?
It wasn't until 3 years later when Ruby was 21, still in college, I presume, and then Kevin was 24, graduated from college, and that is when they had their very first daughter, Sherry. A lot happens between the years of 2000 and 2013, so I'm just gonna break it down in a timeline for you. Ruby and Kevin got married in 2003, that is when they had their first daughter named Sherry. 2 years later, in 2005, they had their son, Chad. 2 years later after that, in 2007, they had Abby. 1 year after that, in 2009, they had Julie. 2 years after that, they had Russell. And then 2 years after that, in 2013, they had Eve. And actually, their very first YouTube video was the gender reveal of Eve.
It's pink! It's going to be a girl! Wow!
Literally ever since this girl was born, they even filmed the birthing of her. Quite literally since she was born, 20 minutes out the womb, they were like, what's up, vlog? So they posted their very first video in 2013, but they actually didn't become very consistent with their channel until 2015. That is when they started to post nearly daily vlogs. So I didn't mention this earlier, but Kevin is actually a college professor. He got his PhD in civil engineering, and so most of the days he was out doing his professor thing. At home sat Ruby with all of the kids, and so she was kind of the ringleader when it came to these vlogs. She edited them, she filmed them. With these vlogs, they were just typical white Christian family in Utah sort of vlogs. So it wasn't until 2 years after they started vlogging in 2017 where they started to gain a lot more subscribers for their content, but for the wrong reasons. As I said, she kind of kept it as a home diary, just something to look back on. But what she didn't understand, these videos are quite literally open to the public, even the public that should be in jail. What these vlogs presumed is that she would start filming very, very vulnerable videos of her children, such as bra shopping, first time shaving, puberty talk, so many more. And what was really creepy about these videos, not just the fact that Ruby was filming them, even when the kids sometimes told her not to.
The talk, not right here. Actually, no, it's not.
No.
Not doing this, not doing this.
Okay, so
can you not film it?
So I just
You just got rejected.
Is that in the comments of these videos, files would put the timestamps of when the kids looked most vulnerable, and for some reason people would also circulate these videos on Reddit. It started to become very, very popular, and it allowed their channel to grow very quickly, but again, for like the completely wrong reasons. I don't think Ruby had like any malicious intention when making these videos. I truly just think that she was just being a parent. Typically when parents, you know, see their kids embarrassed, they're like, oh look, they're embarrassed because they're going bra shopping. Merp, merp. But when it comes to, you know, the general public, people might see that as, you know, different. And the craziest part is that throughout all of this, their comments were never disabled. I mean, their comments are disabled now, but I think that's mostly because they set their videos to be for kids. When you're uploading a YouTube video, you get the option to either set it for kids or not. And if you do set it to kids, the comments are automatically disabled. So I don't even think they disabled their own comments because they wanted to. I think it was just the system. This was all going on in 2017. 2 years later, 2019 comes around, and that is when 8 Passengers gets a lot of flack. At this point, they had around almost 1 million subscribers, which extremely terrifying because they were still uploading these like gross and insinuating content even in 2019 when their channel grew to 1 million subscribers. The clip that actually sent Ruby into a spiral of people questioning her parenting behavior is a clip where her youngest daughter, Eve, who at this point was 5 years old, sent to kindergarten without a lunch. And so the teachers, being extremely concerned because she was hungry and didn't have any food to eat, they texted Ruby like, hey, Eve didn't come in with a lunch today. Is it possible that you can come in with a lunch and just kind of like, you know, so we could give her something to eat? And Ruby responds, no, don't give her any food. She is responsible, 5 years old, by the way. She is responsible for bringing her own lunch. And if she doesn't bring her own lunch, she needs to understand that, okay, I don't bring my own lunch, meaning I'm gonna starve.
I just got a text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? This happens quite often when you're raising children, because I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch, and it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch. But I responded and just said Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch. Okay, this looks good. You've got Nutella sticks. Why does she take the sandwich out and then put it in a container? Oh.
Chocolate and fruit sounds like the type of nutritious meal any 5-year-old would pack for themselves. Hey, at least if she forgets to eat, she won't be getting any cavities.
Just had parent-teacher conferences and talked to Eve's teacher, spoke about the whole lunch issue. Is my child being neglected because she missed a lunch? No. No, she's not.
Oh, thank you for clarifying, Ruby. For a second there, I thought you were neglecting your child because that's what it looked like. And according to the Children's Bureau,
neglect is frequently defined as a failure of a parent or other person with responsibility for the child to provide needed food.
That is so extreme. Girl, this is Utah, not Survivor. What are you? She really thought she did something when she did that. She was like, I'm a good parent. I'm just gonna starve my kids and they'll learn. No, that is how childhood trauma. After that video was released, a lot of people started to give them so much hate for it. People started to go to their channel and scrutinize even more of their questionable parenting, such as them basically teaching their kids as military children.
Props thrown all around. Now, so you see, now I'm using bad language. That's how bad of a mood I'm in. You get your socks picked up and don't you leave your stuff out anymore. Right over there. Drop and give me 10.
1.
Put your hands straight out. They're in. They're not supposed to be out. Shape your hands forward. There you go. 1, 2. Down further. Bring your butt down.
There was another clip where the two sons, Chad and Russell, were just wrestling on the floor like sons do. They just wrestle on the floor. They were laughing, so like no one was getting hurt. And Ruby replies, if you don't stop, you're gonna lose your privilege of dinner.
Torturing him. Stop it. I know you're not, but it'll... I'm only gonna say it one more time and then you're gonna lose the privilege to eat dinner.
With this uproar of all of these people calling out 8 passengers, people were really furious and also very disturbed at the things that they found on their channel, such as another time where Ruby literally filmed them getting into a car accident.
Are you okay? You're okay? I'm okay. Okay, I think he's okay. Was I right behind him? I don't even remember what happened. I'm shaking.
Are they okay?
Everyone's okay, and I want you to really listen. We should have been in that crash.
As I said, things would just kind of go away on their own. They still continued to upload. They weren't really saying anything about it. And like the internet usually does, there was something more interesting that came up in the media and everyone lost interest of the old thing. Also in 2019, their oldest son, Chad, had actually been expelled from school, which is really not that hard to believe. Like, if you look at the requirements of this school, it's insane. Like, you breathe the wrong way and you're out. Before you even enter the school, they make you sign this like paper that basically says that you're going to be loyal to all of the school's rules, but this isn't even like school rules. This is just like genuine freedoms that you're taking away. So he ended up getting expelled for some reason, and then that is when the parents decided that the best decision for him to learn from his mistakes is to send him off to Anasazi, which is a wilderness therapy camp.
Chad today has just entered the Anasazi Foundation Wilderness Therapy Program. He's going to spend the next 8 to 10 weeks living in the
Anasazi Desert.
Yeah. So you're probably wondering, what did Chad do? Okay, we're not even going to entertain that stuff, but it's an accumulation of things over years, well before we ever started YouTubing or well before we ever got into social media. And it's reached a point where Chad needs to develop some very basic maturity and skills.
So essentially what this Anasazi was, camp that you would go on with around 30 other people in a group, and you would have no technology, no resources, just basically camping gear. and you live in the wild. What this is supposed to teach people is that if you are able to survive in the wild for 30 days with barely anything, then you can do anything. So when looking into this Anasazi wilderness therapy, I was looking deeper into like what it was, and I actually found a staff review from someone who used to work there, basically saying that they were super homophobic, they were racist, and they had no experience working for children. A lot of people started to sue the place, and so now they're required to put multiple times on their website that it is not a boot camp. Not only was this review a really big red flag, what was also a red flag is that 1% of their 30 people group were prisoners. Also, first of all, in that whole statistics thing, 80% of our groups are in high school, college, graduated high school, graduated college. It's like, that's such like a broad percentage for just like everyone. Chad got expelled from school, and to teach him a lesson, they're going to send him off to wilderness therapy in hopes that he will get better. Oh yeah, and did I mention that he's only 14? He was 14. And also, this place isn't even meant for kids. It says all over the website things like, oh, we help like recovering drug addicts, alcoholics, people who just got out of prison and want to change their life around. Those are the type of people that they help. So having Chad in there, like a 14-year-old kid, just like, hey guys, people are like, I need this. Like, I have a family and I need to figure out myself. Why are you even here? He came back from his wilderness therapy. The family obviously did a very emotional vlog for his well return.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, they're in the window. I'm home, this is crazy.
And then literally a month later, he does something minuscule again and gets his bed taken away for 7 months.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October. I'll give you the reason why I lost my bedroom. I think so. I think this is the reason. At least this is the reason that's been in my head. It's pretty funny, but now that I look back, I mean, it's pretty depressing.
No, we never told our viewers.
That I woke Russell up at 2 in the morning and told him that we're going to Disneyland and he has to pack. And he got up and made his bed all neatly and then packed all his clothes in a suitcase. And then he walked out the door and I'm like, Russell, he was like, what? And he's all happy. Has his sunglasses on. And I was like, we're not going to Disneyland. And he started crying and hitting me. And then he went back to bed in tears and then...
So that was
all right, okay. Clearly, the wilderness therapy did not work. Like, that's just like free trauma that he just now has. I've met parents like these in the past where they just don't allow their children room for mistake, and it's just so frustrating. Like, you can't expect your children to be adults. Like, they don't know how to be adults yet. Ha ha ha, brotherly moment, typical sibling things. But Ruby, taking it to the extremes like she typically does, she was like, no bed until you learn your lesson. So apparently his lesson lasted 7 months because that's how long he didn't have a bed for. Same sort of thing like the last time. People were like, whoa. Wait, the rise of 8 passengers happened again. People started looking into their old content, realizing all the messed up stuff that they were doing. They are under fire once again. Since this fire was so much worse than the last time, 8 passengers really had no choice but to explain, because at this point, they had 2 million subscribers. What actually blew this whole situation up in the first place was TikTok.
Hey! Okay, I don't know if you guys heard about that family on YouTube called 8 Passengers, I think, that are now getting exposed because of the way they have punished their children. By the way, ignore all this. I burned the shit out of myself last weekend. Kids, wear sunscreen. It's no joke. But anyways, back to what I was saying. This family punished their son by taking his fucking bed away and making him sleep on a beanbag for 7 months. All because of what, you ask? Because he pranked his little brother by saying, hey, we're going to Disneyland, pack your bag, at an early morning hour. They took his fucking bed for that. On top of, they let their 6-year-old daughter go hungry at school because she forgot her lunch. She is 6 years old. Her teacher was so concerned that she was texting the mother and saying, hey, can you bring your daughter some fucking food? And the mother had the audacity to say that she should have packed her lunch. It's her problem that she forgot her own lunch. I want to fight parents like that, bro.
If you cut one more thing in my house,
We're chopping its head off.
I'm going to take the scissors, look at me, and I'm going to cut its head off.
Grandma will be so mad.
Grades?
No, you can.
Okay, so it means that you can't have your phone for the summer. You okay? I refuse to have a kitchen in my basement. My kids are not welcome to come live with me after they're 18. I am very straightforward about that.
In reference to that clip, I was looking at their channel and their oldest, Sherry, just turned 18. And the title is Happy Birthday, Sherry, Pack Your Bags. I don't know why I thought that was so funny. Happy birthday, babes. Now get out. TikTok got a hold of this story and started making videos, had even exposed more of the bad parenting that they had done that people didn't even realize the first time around. Yeah. Delete your platform. Now, since their questionable behavior was starting to resurface once again, it actually got the flack of the people at their school. I didn't mention this earlier, but they were also getting bullied at school because of the videos that their mom would post of them, like puberty talk and shaving. Like, it's such an awkward concept, and to a parent, it's like, oh, they're getting embarrassed. But when they go to school,
And now I have no friends.
You can play with friends.
No, like I don't have friends.
I don't have friends either.
I literally like told my friends I'm not hanging out with them anymore
Because they're
they say some pretty messed up stuff.
I don't even know where they live. They're pretty far away.
So?
Even more messed up concept about this whole entire like family vlogging genre is that there is no child labor laws. These people at this time uploaded daily, and there are so many family vlogging channels out there that do upload daily, such as Ryan's Toys Review. And I don't doubt that there is at least one day where the child just doesn't want to film, or maybe they're sick, or maybe they're busy or something like that. But no, they upload daily. There was actually a psychologist who made a video about the 8 passengers, basically saying that it is so toxic for family vlogging channels because there really is no rules when it comes to consenting as well as child labor laws.
Some might say these children are consenting to being on the channel, but I don't see how they can consent. They're not old enough for that. Even if one could make the argument that them being recorded isn't harmful right now, I wonder what happens later on. For example, they grow up, they start looking for a job, they interview, the interviewer searches their name, they find over 1,000 videos featuring that person. In many of those videos, they will be doing something embarrassing. There will be something that the interviewer can latch onto and say, I don't really feel comfortable getting involved in whatever they were doing.
At least for a child actor, if they are being overworked or exploited, they can at least come home as an escape and sort of just be in their own world and not have to deal with it again. But it's not the case for these family vlogging channels. These kids come home and the cameras are in their face. They go to school and they're getting made fun of. So there really is just no outlet.
It's like they can't ever escape the cameras. There's no privacy. Some have likened it to living in a transparent house, but I think it's actually worse than that. If their house was actually transparent, then people would have to drive by to see in. That would essentially be a passive loss of privacy. But by recording everything and putting it on YouTube, they're engaging in an active destruction of privacy.
It is not healthy for Chad to be on Instagram. So we are deleting his Instagram account. Main reasons was because Chad was getting a lot of his identity from Instagram. He would put up a photo and he wouldn't even have a caption on it. He'd just have like an emoji, and there would be hundreds and hundreds of comments that say, you're hot, I want to be your girlfriend, fire and flames and kisses and emojis.
As I said earlier, they actually made a response video to this, which really wasn't a response. It was basically just Ruby going like, I hear you guys, I really do hear your concerns, and I want to make sure that what I'm putting out is the best. But then 2 seconds later turn it around and be like, it's your fault that you guys don't understand what's going on.
We've been consulting with mental health and emotional health professionals for years. And the things that we show and share and the things that many of you are criticizing and calling abusive are actually things that mental health professionals have counseled us to do.
We got accused of child abuse when we sent Chad to Anasazi. Guess what? The first thing that they did was take a bed away. They don't have beds.
People are really triggered. And so if you are triggered and you're upset because of something Kevin and I have done with our children that is actually working really well for us, then I would invite you to look at it and ask yourself, what is it that I'm projecting onto this situation? Because
so we've learned through experience that when people get triggered or get upset by something, it usually is because that something means something about them.
And I'm taking a child development class right now, and what we're learning is that it really doesn't matter the environment that your child grows up in. The mind of the child is their own. Some kids could grow up in like a really nice, loving family, but then just hate the claustrophobic of all of it and then resort to crime as an escape to break away or shock the system. Or vice versa, some people could grow up in very toxic and disgusting households, but then grow up to get like a PhD in neuroscience, you know? Every single thing that a child does with reason. They don't do it just because they want to. Like if a child talks back, they're not doing it out of like, I want to hurt you. They're doing it out of emotion. The fact that these kids are constantly getting racked on at home, at school, and online, it's obvious that these things are going to take a toll on these kids' mental health. In response to all of this, they didn't really make a second video, but instead just delete a bunch of the controversial videos, most of the controversial videos. The videos that I was showing you earlier are still up on the channel. Not only were they disabling videos, they were also giving out lawsuits. We're giving out literal lawsuits to people that even mention the situation for slandering. So with that being said, let me just say real quick, I'm not trying to slander their name. This is basically a biography of the channel and what they have done, etc., etc. A really big news outlet called Insider actually got news of this story and decided to report on it along with an interview with Ruby and Kevin. Basically, in this interview, they speak about their controversies and don't own up to any of them. Regarding the Chad not having a bedroom for 7 months, they basically said that Chad had the choice to either sleep on the couch or on the beanbag, but he chose the beanbag. And they also said that it was Chad's choice that it was 7 months. They told him whenever he feels like he's learned his lesson, he could go back to his bed. But I feel like any 14-year-old would literally just go to their bed the very next day. Also in this interview, they talked about the camp that they sent Chad to, saying that they heard many, many amazing reviews on it, which again is very hard to believe because even prior to Chad going there, there had been lawsuits. As I said, like that is why they have to put on their website all over the place that it's not a boot camp. The funniest part of this interview was at the end, they were like, oh, to all of the haters out there, we're praying for you. We're praying that you find the love and yada, yada, yada. But then 2 seconds later, they're literally giving lawsuits to the people that even talk about it. Barely anything adds up. I feel like since Chad was the oldest son, he got really big unfair treatment when it came to his parents. He was racked on the most for literally no reason. Like when I was looking at these vlogs, Chad seems like a typical teenager. After all of this practically just blew up in their face, they decided to not daily vlog anymore and now only post twice or 3 times a week. As for 2020, regarding the treatment of their children, they actually had CPS called on their home, and I feel like the Child Protective Services thing really made them think, okay, maybe there is something different we could do, because before, like I said earlier, they weren't allowing their kids to have technology. They had one communal phone that they would use, and it would only stay in the kitchen. They gave Chad a flip phone.
She was like 15 in a few months.
My age has them.
But I'm not everyone's parent. So help me out here. Am I the only mom in the world who gets their kids a flip phone?
How do you work this stupid phone?
The only downside to giving your kids a flip phone is I swear I have to remember how to work it every time I go through it.
Now when you look at their videos, every single one of them do have iPhones now that they are just free to use whenever they want. They also all have their own beds, which okay. Recent crazy thing that they did was back in October during the rise of COVID. It's no surprise that their whole family got COVID. I mean, I didn't even have to say that for it to be a shock. So yeah, their whole family got COVID, starting with the father, which makes sense because the father is a professor at a college. But when the father does get COVID, it's so awkward because they treat it as if it's one big joke.
This morning we got test results back for Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin has tested positive for COVID. What a loser.
What? I feel bad because I know I affected people, right? My whole volleyball team has to quarantine.
Oh no.
And they're all gonna know it was me.
The mother even suggests at one point in the video that they all try to get COVID and drink out of a communal cup.
It's a serious one. The question is, do we all
Get COVID!
get COVID?
We're gonna stay home anyway, so
Do we all share a communal cup and try to get sick?
No, it'll just happen. If it happens, it happens.
In the video, they were like, I don't know how we got COVID, when literally they were traveling to New York City, one of the worst places for COVID. Also, they were going to places without any masks or gloves on.
I just wanted to be open that I've been traveling, but if you guys still... Where have you been? So we went to St. Thomas. We had a layover in New York and then went to St. Thomas and then flew home.
How long ago was it?
We came home yesterday.
I will mention it because that might be a problem.
The zoo we weren't able to do, so we're going to do an escape room instead.
Sometimes I'll recognize some friends from school or I don't know, past things that I've done with them, so.
I literally hate whenever people say this, like, oh, I'm just gonna try to get COVID so I can't get it again. Not even taking into consideration that just because you get COVID once doesn't mean you're just off the hook. There are so many long-lasting effects to COVID that people just bypass over. Even Sherry, the oldest child, was like, no, I don't, doesn't sound right. Honestly, I just feel so bad for these kids because they really didn't choose this lifestyle. It was a lifestyle that was chosen for them since they were born. I think a little bit is that since Ruby and Kevin did have kids very, very young, I mean, Ruby was engaged in high school. Since she didn't really get to live out her teenage years or her 20s and go out and have fun, she kind of suppresses that same exact experience from her children, but thinks nothing of it and not really thinking like, oh, I'm not, you know, they're not missing out on anything because I lived my 20s and I was fine. Well, you also had a kid. So like, it's completely different circumstances. She, you know, allowed her kids technology. She only posts 2 to 3 times a week for the 8 passengers. It's a wild, wild ride. The things that they did to their kids were unacceptable, and I'm glad that they heard the people and started, well, honestly, they didn't hear the people at all. They heard CPS banging at the door and they were like, maybe we're doing something wrong. If they ever do watch this video, just delete those videos or private them. Like, you don't have to show the whole world those videos, you know, like those could just be videos you private and then you can watch it for yourself. you know, minus the creepy people who are watching it as well. Yes, that's it for the video. And as I said in the beginning of this video, this is a 3-part series. This is part 2. I'll be leaving part 1 where I discuss the Ace family down below. Also, in a few days, be uploading ShayTards. So if that is a deep dive that you would really want to hear about, then subscribe if you want. You don't even have to subscribe. You could just come back in a few days and we can hang out again. I literally do like the same look every time. It's insane. Yeah. I really hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope you continue enjoying these videos because they're really, really fun to make. Yeah, that's the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if there's anybody else that you want me to report on next, leave that in the comments below. That's that, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Take your bow, you did it, you completed another video. Hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day and do something that makes you happy today.